Champions Mojo is part of the CG Sports Network.
Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo, hosted by two world record-holding athletes and health, life, and leadership coaches. Be inspired as you listen to Conversations with Champions. And now, your hosts, Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Champions Mojo podcast. With me today is my sister-in-law, Maria. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Kelly. It's great to be with you.
Yes. So I am really excited about this topic, and we're going to name it Power Up Your People Skills, or Better Ways to Connect to People. So I love the idea of connecting to our fellow humans. And this is, so important in the pandemic, but just, I'm feeling a little disconnected. And whenever I can review people skills, I know it's one of those things we're going to call unsexy, but it just is so important. And I remember, my days as a Pfizer pharmaceutical rep and then manager really taught me that almost everything we want in life comes through another person. So if you don't want to do it just to make yourself feel good, then if you want to achieve your goals in life, using the skills we're going to talk about today will truly help you achieve your goals. They're going to help you feel more connected. So with that sales pitch up front, how can you not stay tuned, right? So yeah. we're going to take some of the tried and true Dale Carnegie timeless values and principles from How to Win Friends and Influence People, and we're going to add some of our own updated 2021.
I think this is a really good time for this, and like you say, I mean, it's some of this is so obvious. It's been around for forever, but particularly in this time where we're feeling kind of prickly. We're in an anxious time. There's a lot of political differences out there. These things will really help you so that you can connect with other people. So I think it's great.
Yeah. So it's kind of we're going to break them down a little bit into winning friends or connecting to people. Right. I think these are initial things, but the couple right up front are, if you can just be positive, like instead of starting a conversation with criticism or condemnation or complaining about something, like how many times are you, walking the dog, or you meet somebody in the bank, and the first thing out of their mouth is, boy, that weather sure is crappy, or the president sure does stink, or, just like if you can start something in a positive way, it just like makes you want to engage with that person. Like, isn't it a beautiful day? And then you're like, okay, this is a person that I want to take the next step with.
Well, I think this is really important for your closest relationships too. I mean, we can get into patterns. Well, I'll speak for myself because I don't think you do this, Kelly, but I can get into patterns of criticizing and condemning, or I don't complain as much, but I am aware of complaints. So I think especially perhaps in our most intimate relationships, this is really important. And then,
yes.
The second area, and you're so good at this, I'd like to feel like I'm improving, is you can give honest and sincere and authentic appreciation. It's just nobody can get enough of that, even if that's not their love language or whatever. If so many times, I think I've said this before, I kind of hoard my appreciations. Like I think of something nice that somebody's doing, or I admire something, and I don't just say it. I don't know why. So I think this is give honest, sincere appreciation. Whenever you think of it, if you can do it, it's a great gift you can give someone else.
Yeah. And, I met one of my closest and best friends through this, because I feel like whenever, many, many times I appreciate and I recognize things about people that I'm working with, or people that I just meet, or people that I might just be swimming with.
You're really good at it.
A little story with this is when I have made this rule, and I don't know how I made it, but a long, long time ago, I made this rule that if I have something come across my internal dialogue that is positive about the other person, I tell them. I literally go up and tap them on the shoulder and I say, the way you handled that was amazing. Or, wow, I really like that dress. And this is, I know that it's sincere because it's in my brain. I don't create this to say that. So I remember, and who I'm going to say here is my great friend, Nancy. Okay. She and I were in a master swim practice together, and she was talking in the locker room one day. I didn't know her from Adam, but she was talking about what she was doing with the little kids that she evaluates. She's a school psychologist, and she works with little tiny 4 and 5 year olds, and she evaluates them for moving forward. And so she was telling this story that really impressed me, but I didn't know her from Adam. And she was talking with one of her friends, and we were all dressed and we were kind of heading out the door. And I tapped her on the shoulder on the way out, and I said, I just think what you're doing is amazing. And that is so interesting and so valuable. And she looked at me like I thought, like I had an eye in the middle of my forehead. But from that moment on, we were just clicked. I found out, we were fast friends, and she was so appreciative of that. And she said, wow, I don't get that kind of feedback. And so I just encourage people to, if you think something nice, say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what the resistance is, but yeah, it's a great bit of advice. Of course, this also applies to your closest relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know if you have the next one or I do.
Well, I don't want to tell too many stories because we have a lot, but the next one is become genuinely interested in other people. And this is a story. It's kind of family lore. And you and Jim actually reminded me of this story back when I was coaching. So if you become, I believe if you help people get what they want, then somehow the universe, the unforeseen helping hand, helps you get what you want. So this is, I don't know if this is self-serving, but I think if you become genuinely interested in other people, that it's amazing doors will open for you. So the story is, when I was coaching at the University of South Carolina, we were not a top 5 program. We were not a top 10 program. We were, in the middle, like 20s, 20 to 25th in the country. And so trying to climb that ladder, I would go after big names, swimmers that would be swimming at the top 5 schools. And at that time, we're talking like Stanford and Cal and Texas and Georgia. And these were the big top 5 schools. And so I would call these swimmers, who were blue chips, as I call them, and say, would you like to take one of your 5 recruiting visits to the University of South Carolina? And 9 times out of 10, they would just be flat no, no, thanks for the call, coach, but I'm really, I'm looking at top 5 schools. So there was a particular, recruit that would have really filled out our resume at South Carolina. And I called her and I said, would you like to take a recruiting trip? She said, oh, no, I want to go to this school. And she named the school, and that top 5 school happened to be, that coach happened to be a pretty close friend of mine. And so it just popped into my brain. And I said to her, oh, so you just want to go to this school. You're not going to look anywhere else. You just want to go to that school. She said, yeah, I've wanted to go there for a long time, and that's where I want to go, but they have not reached out to me yet. And I said, oh, well, they're going to reach out to you. They're just busy, or they've dropped the ball. This is, you're like the top ranked recruit in 2 of the events all across the country. And, everybody needs freestylers. And she was a 200 and 500 freestyler. And I said, you're going to hear from them. I said, would you like me to just check in with the coach? Because I know that he's dropping the ball here. And she's like, you would do that for me? And I said, sure. I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I connected, her, I called the coach, and he was like, oh, thank you. We've been traveling, and of course, I'm going to talk to her. And so, about a couple weeks later, I really don't know what happened, but she told me, she called me and she said, Coach, I've been thinking about it, and I want to take a visit to South Carolina. And I think I want to swim for a coach that would do this, something I've been thinking. And that was really amazing. And so, long story short, she ended up swimming for South Carolina and becoming a pillar of our program. That's
great. And that was just because you asked. And I think I heard somebody once said, think of each person as sort of a gift that you could unwrap, and for me, this is very natural. I'm very interested and curious about people.
You
And
are.
so I don't have any trouble, but I love that particular story because you went beyond being interested and curious and you actually went to bat for her. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you help people get what they want, so
Right.
that's really that one is helping people get what they want.
right,
What's the
right.
next one, Maria?
I'm going to roll the next two together.
Yeah.
The next one, and this is a little bit dated. It's smile at people. And I mean, I think that I think the better term would be have an open body posture and face when you look at somebody, you know, but engage them with your body posture and your face. That's so important. And then the next one, which is so hard for all of us, and everybody knows, remember somebody's name. Remember their name. Remember their name. Don't drop it. Remember their name.
Yeah, yeah, and there's so many ways to do this. If you can do a little, put a little story with their name or think of them. I remember there were twin brothers in high school when I went to high school that were twins, Tim and Tom, and they literally no one could tell them apart. And they used to love me because I could tell them apart. And so the way that I figured out is Tom had a very small mole on his cheek, and I remember thinking, O is for mole for Tom. And so I remembered Tom, and they always used to say, Kelly, you're the only one that could tell us apart. So there are ways to think of people's names and remember them. So
Yeah,
I think
an app. I will write somebody's name down in immediately so that I remember if I want to, and I do want to remember them. So that's that's great. There's lots of ways, like you say, there's games. Jim always helps me with that. When we leave a conversation, he'll say, Joe, and he'll come up with a rhyme, and that must have been a thing in your family.
Yeah. And it's not just remembering their names, but also using their names when you talk to them. So these next three are just kind of compact little things. If you're a good listener, and this is updating this to 2021, put that cell phone away.
Right.
Nothing makes me feel less listened to than when I'm talking with my husband and he checks his cell phone in the middle of the conversation. It's like, I just want to throw my hands up in the air and say, okay, I'll come back when you're ready to listen. So be a good listener. And when you do that, you're going to be engaged in other people's interests and you're going to make them feel important. Right. So I think those are really like being a good listener, think of other people's interests. And when you do that, you're going to make them sincerely feel important.
Again, and this is, I mean, the way I think about it is like, this person has something to teach me. This person has something interesting in their lives. I can, so I love people, but I always, even if they don't look maybe like the kind of person, that I might be interested in, I remind myself, oh no, they've probably got some great story. Each person is filled with beautiful things that you can learn from. So if you're reminding yourself of that, it might make that easier to do.
Yes, Maria, I think that is a wonderful way to look at it. You and my husband are extremely curious people. And, you can have meet people in the grocery store aisle and come out. And I've done this with both of you, like, especially Mark, because I'm with them more, but both of you like come out of the grocery store. We're walking out of the grocery store. Honey, where were you? What took you so long? Oh my gosh, I met this man and he was telling me, so I think that's true that every single person can bring value to you if you open your mind to them. I love that.
Mark is so naturally curious. I don't know how many times he's asked me a question that nobody else has ever asked.
He's very curious. Yeah. And you are too. So that's a good one. So be curious to connect to people.
So, and then the next section was broadly under influencing people, but this would just really be leading people. And so the first thing, Dale Carnegie says is the best way to get out of an argument is to avoid it. I think that's,
yes. And
some
when
of us are prone to fight like I am.
Oh my gosh. And when I was younger, I could not grasp this concept of let's agree to disagree. I couldn't grasp it. For some reason, I thought I need to make you see my point. And I think that's an immature position, and that, we have to respect each other's positions, but definitely the way to avoid to get along with people is to avoid something that you don't agree on. And this is really, really particular. There's wise old wisdom, timeless wisdom is don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. I think even, leaving sexuality out of things is really important, but I don't mean the actual enjoyment of sex, but I mean what your gender is and what your preference is. Who cares what you do in the bedroom, right? I mean, it's like, let's not talk about things that are going to cause an argument. And I know over this last political season, many, many people that have had a wedge driven between them. And I've temporarily lost a friend, and I hope that can be repaired. But, it was a small, I would even say a small political difference, not even I'm blue and she's red or vice versa. It was just a small one. So.
Yeah. And the idea here is be curious about why people feel the way they feel. If you do have a good relationship where you feel like you can talk about these difficult issues, the best way is just to listen. Like, why do you feel that way? Why do you think that is the way it is? Why, but so often we're so, and I'm terrible at this, we're so ready to say what we're thinking and how we disagree and how they're wrong and we're right. So we're preparing our response to whatever they're saying, especially in disagreement. And it's not helpful. You will have, and I think, and we're afraid we're going to forget what we're going to say, right?
Like, yeah, you're right. Yes.
I gotta say, but that's really not true. If you can really draw the person out and really try to understand them, then, you will have earned the credibility to say, what you think and how it might be different. So, yeah,
but while that's with close people, I mean, even like, I would even say maybe family members, if you really have an issue, you've got to hash out, that's family. But truly, in thinking about this friend of, 40 years, right, that, it would have just been so much better for our friendship to just skip the whole thing. Just.
Oh yeah. And I would update this by saying, don't disagree over email. Like,
yes.
if you want to have it, and we've just been through this sort of family email thread that got a little bit messy, and just email is permanent. You don't want to say things in an email.
Right. Yeah. Or a text. So we felt, my friend and I fell out in a text. It was a text. So anyway,
right.
And what I'm going to put in there? I'm going to put in the mask and pandemics and vaccines. Let's not talk about those either.
Well,
really.
Things that people feel strongly or have become politicized. You could talk about, you could add global warming to that.
Yes. Yeah. There's all kinds of things. So let's, we don't really need to go there. So, right. But that ties in with when you're talking about something, if you're wrong, admit it. Like my husband is the king of admitting he's wrong. I mean, it is like, I try to role model it, and you and I, Maria, we're stubborn. It's really hard for us. Ready? Just say the words. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Wrong. It's like, it's very hard for I think many people to say, I was wrong. You were right. That comes out of Mark's mouth all the time. I was wrong. You were right. And the idea of that.
I used to tell Jim those are the most beautiful words in the English language.
Does Jim ever say them?
Sometimes he'll say, I was wrong. And I said, I want to hear the rest. Yes, he does.
He does. That's beautiful.
Yeah, he's really good at admitting he's wrong. And so are you.
Well, I've learned it from Mark. I didn't used to be like that. I did not used to be like that. So you can come a long way. How about that next one?
Well, I think we've kind of really talked about most of these already, but I think, again, the point is to honestly try, it's the old adage, walking in another person's shoes, try to put yourself in try to see their point of view. This is so hard, and it's a really unselfish thing to do. Like, why would you feel that way? I mean, let me see if I can really understand. Oh, you know what? Probably if I'd had those experiences, if I'd had that, I would feel that way too. It's you can't know somebody's life. And so truly, but you can learn it. And if you learn it, then you can be, you can really love them by understanding their point of view. And then once you've created that relationship, you're going to be much more influential. And that's sort of what's happened with you, Kelly. I mean, you have you have, we have areas that we disagree, but you have listened so well and tried to understand so well that you've gained credibility with me. When you say something, I know you love me and you know me, and I can say, yeah, okay, you're probably right. If you say, Maria, I don't think you're, like, we had a conversation yesterday and you said, Maria, you're not looking at that from the right perspective. And I was like, oh yeah, I could hear it because I know you love me, and was said in love. And I was like, oh yeah, she's right. I'm wrong.
And I've truly listened to all your,
Exactly.
to all your background. So I know that. And these things that we've talked about today are so, I think they're personally valuable to our own mental health and well-being and good feelings. But if you just want to use these to get ahead in life, Maria, you have a great story about neighbors. Why don't you tell that story?
Oh, okay. So, well, this is actually not my story, but it's came from the original book, the Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a great story. So somebody was going to try all of these little tips and techniques out with somebody in the neighborhood who was really cranky and known to be an unpleasant person, an older woman living by herself. And so he starts smiling at her and being interested, and remembered her name and greeted her and asked her lots of questions. And, and he developed a relationship with her. And then when she died, she left everything to him. I mean, he had no idea. He wasn't, he had developed a relationship with her by using these techniques, and he wasn't doing it obviously to get her will rewritten. But, so the point is that, caring about somebody through these very easy to use techniques can help you in many ways,
Yeah. And even parents listening, I mean, if you want to influence your kids, try these on your kids. Yeah. Smile at them, listen, put your cell phone down. And we're so busy sometimes we just don't have the time. If you are a boss, if you are a coworker, these are truly time-tested nuggets that are going to be helpful. And as simple as this stuff is, it's really powerful.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, Maria. Love you so much.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.